hummed softly, a quiet pulse of life in the stillness, while lavender's delicate scent wrapped the air, thickening the atmosphere with tranquility. Curled on the couch, I clutched a book, the evening lamp casting a warm, golden glow that wrapped around me like a tender embrace. In that brief moment, calmness wrapped around me, a rare treasure in the unyielding chaos of daily life. He crossed the threshold. Tristan stood at the brink, his name reverberating in the heavy stillness. My stepson, a presence intertwined with my existence, bears the burden of untold tales and concealed emotions. At 18, he towered over me at 6'2", radiating a calm assurance that masked his youth. But tonight, that confidence had evaporated completely. He slipped into the room, hands lost in his hoodie pockets, shoulders hunched, as if desperate to vanish from the world. His dark, tousled hair fell into his eyes, and his anxious gaze darted around the room before settling on the floor. "Hey," he whispered, his voice trembling in the silence. I raised my eyes from the pages, setting the book down gently, as if it contained secrets too valuable to disrupt. "Hey, Tristan, what's happening?" He hesitated, shifting his weight restlessly, uncertainty eating away at him. "Of course, please sit down and get cozy." He hesitated, doubt flashing in his eyes before he finally yielded to the pull of the armchair across from me. He ran his fingers through his hair, his gaze firmly turned away from me. I watched him closely, my heart aching with a deep desire to share in his suffering. Tristan, usually the center of attention, sensed a haunting change tonight, shadows swirling in his mind, dragging him into an inescapable silence. Laid bare. "What thoughts race through your mind?" I pleaded gently. He breathed in sharply, eyes fixed on the earth below. "It centers on my girlfriend. We've been contemplating that bold step forward." I nodded, calm on the surface, but my eyes pierced through, capturing every detail. Our bond, born from trust and respect, was unbreakable. I promised him he could share anything, no matter how shadowy or frightening. "All right," I said, my voice calm, hiding the tempest inside. "What lingers in your mind?" Tristan finally looked up, his cheeks aflame with shame. Uncertainty clung tightly, a shadow in the mind, with a haunting question reverberating in the stillness. "This territory is uncharted for me. I must not let this opportunity slip away." A soft smile touched my lips, my heart bursting with deep love for the young man who had become family to me. "Tristan, that flutter in your stomach signals the edge of something thrilling. But the true essence is in the bond built through your words with your partner. Delve deep into each nuance, forging a bond of true understanding together. This journey transcends perfection. It's about deep connection and cherishing every moment together." He nodded, brow furrowed, absorbing every word I spoke. What if she turns away? Disappointment etched on her face? Have I just sealed my fate? I leaned in, my voice wrapping the room in a tender embrace. Self-consciousness grips us all, a shared struggle that cuts deep. This journey is yours together. Talk to her about her limits, and don't shy away from probing further with your questions. If something feels wrong, take a moment to stop. Above all, you must feel at ease and fully embrace the moment. Tristan breathed out, a sudden relief washing over him, unveiling the weight he never realized he bore. "Thanks, Eleanor. I need it to be something she'll never forget. Your profound worry shows you're on the path to change. Just accept yourself, Tristan. That's all anyone really craves." He nodded again, a subtle smile flickering at the corners of his mouth. "Grateful beyond words. It changes everything. Anytime I replied, my heart overflowing with feeling. Remember, I'm always here for you, ready to answer any questions that come up. No judgment. Got it? Tristan chuckled softly, the burden easing, relief flooding through him. Relief surged through him, overwhelming and profound. Got it. I'll hold on to that. As the conversation ended, a storm of feelings erupted inside me. Tristan's heart swelled with pride, a powerful wave of emotion that captured the essence of the thoughtful young man he had become. Nostalgia surged within him, a bittersweet echo of the boy he had been, teetering on the edge of adulthood. A powerful wave of gratitude washed over me for our bond, a connection that had grown and thrived through the years. That night, in bed, the house wrapped me in silence, broken only by the soft beat of my breath. Thoughts of Tristan flickered, memories dancing like shadows in the dark corners of my mind. His heart pounded thick with tension, his fragility, his trust. The way he revealed something so deeply personal hung in the air, thick with unvoiced feelings. He laid his soul bare, reaching out for my guidance with an intensity that was impossible to ignore. The cool sheets whispered against my skin as I turned, and my thoughts spiraled into the abyss. His flushed cheeks burned in memory, hands trembling in a frantic dance, while his voice echoed hauntingly in the silence. It consumed my thoughts. An enigmatic hum hung in the air, a sound that slipped through my fingers, just out of reach. My fingers traced my stomach, rising slowly as I summoned his presence in the room with me. His towering figure cast a shadow, eyes searching mine, desperate for comfort. My breath hitched as my hand fell, the heat of my touch sparking a blaze inside. Eyes closed, I plunged into the vibrant realm blossoming in my thoughts. His hands quivered, reaching for me, a blend of doubt and desire in their grasp. His voice trembled, a chilling whisper that beckoned my name from the darkness. A shiver shot through me, my hips arching as I pressed deeper, lost in the intoxicating rhythm that consumed me. A deep unease clawed at my insides, an undeniable truth I couldn't shake off. In the suffocating shadows of the room, silence reigned, and my thoughts echoed like whispers in the void. It felt unavoidable. Tristan cast aside the last echoes of his youth. He was a man, strong yet fragile, cloaked in a raw vulnerability that pulled at the soul. Waves of pleasure crashed over me, igniting a thrilling thought that danced in my mind. What if I could reveal my insights on relationships, guiding him to discover his own voice within them? As the tension broke, I lay there, trembling, my heart pounding fiercely in my chest. Guilt and longing twisted within me. But beneath the storm, a sharp clarity broke through the chaos. Tristan trusted me completely, his faith in my strength undeniable. No matter what, I would stand by him, unyielding and steadfast. The next day, while I sliced vegetables in the kitchen, the front door creaked open, sending a chill racing down my spine. I looked up, heart racing, waiting for Tristan to burst in with that carefree grin, tossing his backpack onto the couch, ready to share the wild tales of his day. But that was not how it unfolded. He crept in, shoulders curled, hoodie pulled low, a fragile barrier against the chaos outside. He looked away, the weight of silence pressing down on us. He walked by, eyes fixed on the floor, disappearing into the hallway's darkness. In the hushed aftermath, the soft click of his bedroom door shattered the silence. I stood frozen, knife gripped tight, eyes locked on him as he vanished into darkness. A powerful urge gripped me, compelling me to shout, to ask if he was all right. Yet, an invisible grip silenced my words. His face was pale, eyes hollow. A quiet signal that this was not the time to dig deeper. The days dragged on, each one a mirror of the last, unyielding and monotonous. Every morning, Tristan left for university, his silence heavy, and every evening he returned, the air thick with unvoiced thoughts. Once he stepped inside, he disappeared into his room, leaving me with only the distant echoes of music and the quiet hum of his laptop. He never came out, not for dinner, not for a word, not for anything at all. At first, I told myself it was just a passing moment. Teenagers battled fierce emotional storms, and maybe he was just enduring a particularly tough day. As the days turned into a week, a gnawing unease took hold, hinting that something profoundly wrong lingered beneath the surface. I knocked on his door, heart racing, yearning for just a moment together over tea or a walk in the fading light. Every time he uttered the same crushing words. I mumbled, "Not now, Eleanor." "I'm fine," his voice flat and distant, amplifying the widening gap between us. His silence tore at my very core. He moved with a magnetic confidence, a silent authority that resonated deeply, conveying more than words ever could. Tristan once brimmed with life, each step a testament to his confidence. Now he seemed small, desperately trying to merge with the shadows, to disappear entirely. One evening, after yet another dinner, with Tristan still hidden away in his room, I snapped. "No more. This ends now." Saying him like this shattered my heart, trapped and lost in his own sorrow. I had to reveal the truth, no matter how fiercely he protected it. In the shadowy hallway, my heart pounded, each thump resonating in the heavy silence. Heart pounding, I hovered at his door, inhaling sharply before my knuckles brushed the wood with a soft knock. "Tristan," I called, my voice a quiet yet determined whisper. "Can I come in?" A tense silence enveloped the room, charged with expectation, until his hushed voice shattered it. "Absolutely, absolutely." I inhaled sharply, flung the door wide, and stepped into the abyss. Shadows cloaked the room, curtains drawn tight. Tristan lay on his bed, eyes locked on the ceiling, adrift in his thoughts. As I entered, his eyes were locked away, but the tension in his shoulders was electric. His hands were fists at his sides, a quiet sign of the turmoil raging inside. I breathed softly, sinking onto the bed's edge. "Your silence haunts me, and worry claws at my heart for your safety." He stayed quiet, gaze fixed on the ceiling, hunting for answers in the cracks above. Then, with a haunting slowness, his eyes found mine. His red-rimmed eyes revealed a despair so deep it cut through the air, leaving my heart heavy with pain. "I'm fine," he muttered, his voice a rasping whisper, fragile as a thread in the stillness. I shook my head, fingers grazing his arm, desperate for a connection in that fleeting moment. "No way. I see your true self clearly. Whisper to me, Tristan, with tenderness." The room pulsed with a heavy silence, shattered only by the distant, unyielding tick of the clock on Tristan's nightstand. I sat on the edge of his bed, fingers grazing his arm, the air heavy with anticipation, as I waited for him to speak. He lay there, eyes glued to the ceiling, chest rising and falling in shallow gasps, a ghostly pallor spreading across his strained face. Finally, he inhaled sharply, his eyes locking onto mine with a haunting intensity. His eyes, glassy and haunted, overflowed with a pain that tightened around my heart. "It's stupid," he whispered again, his voice slicing through the stillness. It's not stupid, I urged, my fingers digging into his arm. It's ripping you to shreds. And I can't stand by, Tristan. I need to save you. But I can't find you if you hide your hurt. He paused, jaw clenched, fighting the tears that threatened to break free. His eyes were a war zone, a fierce struggle of longing, one side desperate to contain it all, while the other cried out for freedom. Finally, he spoke, his voice trembling with raw emotion. It centers on my girlfriend. We stood at the edge, teetering on the precipice of everything. I nodded, my expression serene, yet filled with unspoken support. Show me the chaos that is about to erupt. He swallowed hard, heat flooding his cheeks as embarrassment consumed him. It started simply, our lips colliding in a passionate kiss, fingers dancing with desperate need, as everything else vanished, leaving just the overwhelming rush of ecstasy. But then he hesitated, his cheeks burning, and I could see the heavy shadow of shame darkening his eyes. What would unfold next? I pleaded gently. He gasped, his voice quaking as he spoke. Her gaze locked onto me. Shock etched across her face as she took in the sight of me, exposed and vulnerable. A heavy frown shadowed my face, and a sharp pain surged in my heart for him. What happened? He looked away, his voice dropping to a whisper, barely piercing the stillness. Her whisper trembled with the weight of it all, too much to endure. A surge of empathy hit me, my heart tightening at the pain woven through his words. Oh, Tristan. He shook his head, humiliation searing his cheeks. She promised me a thrill, something I craved. But after an eternity of waiting, her spark faded, and the moment vanished, leaving me yearning. His voice cut through the silence, a sharp sting of rejection that splintered my heart into fragments. Yet he continued, his voice quaking with a fervor that chilled to the bone. Now, she's igniting conversations at university, sharing it with friends and weaving connections. Laughter surrounds me, a haunting chorus branding me as broken, twisted, a shadow within, whispering that something is wrong. The words hung heavy, charged with venom, sparking a storm of rage inside me for him. How could someone be so completely devoid of thought, so chillingly cruel? Tristan teetered on the brink, destiny pressing down like a storm. You are perfect, just as you are, flawless in every way. His tear-filled eyes locked onto mine, uncertainty carved deep into his expression. Why does it feel so real? Like a shadow hiding in the dark. Why do whispers linger in every exchange, haunting the very air we breathe? With a deep breath, my mind whirled in turmoil, each thought slipping away like fleeting shadows. Listen closely. You are not broken. You are not imperfect. You are extraordinary, unique, perhaps unconventional, yet undeniably captivating. Anyone who disputes this is utterly oblivious to reality. His face betrayed uncertainty, but he opted for silence instead of a fight. He sat up, emotions crashing over him as he wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I'm lost, unsure of what to do next. Disorientation wraps around me, casting me adrift in a storm of uncertainty. I pulled him in tightly, holding him as if my life depended on it. Tristan, I'm here. We'll uncover this mystery together, no matter the cost. He held on tightly, his body quaking just a bit, stirring a deep, fierce love inside me. Just a child, so fragile. It shattered my heart to witness his suffering. A fierce determination ignited in me, driving me to stand with him, to navigate the chaos, no matter the cost. At last, he pulled away, the moment stretching painfully. His face was calm, but the pain flickered in his eyes. "Endless thanks." His voice trembled, each word laced with raw emotion. I smiled softly, my fingers brushing the air as they tucked a stray lock of hair behind his ear. It was Tristan, always and forever. We stood in silence, the weight of our unspoken words crackling like a storm on the verge of unleashing its fury. His mind churned, grappling with the chaos of everything that had just happened. The silence broke at last. "How does this resonate with you?" I whispered. "Tomorrow evening, we'll dive in and uncover the truth together. Are you ready?" He nodded, relief flashing across his face. A hint of a burden eased from his shoulders. "Got it. Thanks, Eleanor." Leaving his room that night, a storm of feelings crashed over me. My heart ached for the suffering he faced. Anger boiled at the cruelty of others, igniting a fierce determination within me to bring him back to who he once was. Tristan held a strength he had yet to see, and I was resolute in my quest to awaken that power, whatever the sacrifice. As the sun sank, I vowed to wrap Tristan in warmth and comfort. I poured my heart into making his favorite: spaghetti, golden garlic bread, and a fresh side salad. The table gleamed, candles danced, their soft light wrapping the room in a tender warmth. He entered the kitchen, a fleeting change flickering across his face, and I saw the tension in his shoulders ease, if just for an instant. "It smells incredible," he whispered, his voice a blend of awe and deep emotion. I extended a plate, my smile barely contained. "A meal awaits, crafted just for you. Let's lose ourselves together." We huddled at the table, silence heavy with unvoiced fears. I struggled to keep the conversation alive, firing off questions about his classes and friends, mixing in snippets of my day, desperate to pull him from his isolation. The atmosphere shifted, and as we finished our meal, Tristan chuckled softly, his eyes shining with a light that had been missing for too long. After dinner, we moved to the living room, tension crackling in the air. The candles flickered, their glow casting shadows that embraced the room in warmth. I sank into the sofa, my hand inviting the void beside me. For a heartbeat, Tristan hesitated, then settled next to me, the air thick with unspoken words. We talked for what seemed like forever, words flowing easily, but an electric tension simmered just below the surface. Tristan carried the weight of his past, and I felt the time had arrived to face it directly. "Tristan," I whispered, turning to lock eyes with him. "What do you think about our talk last night?" He stared at his hands, warmth flooding his cheeks. "I'm shattered, ensnared in a storm of uncertainty. I long to trust you deeply." The whispers of others haunt me, clinging tightly, never letting go. I nodded, a profound pain gripping my heart for him. "I understand, yet there are times when facing these feelings head-on is the only way to reveal the truth lurking in the darkness." He gazed at me, his expression a storm of doubt. "What do you mean?" I inhaled deeply, measuring each word carefully. "Tristan, I think it would help if you could show me. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I want you to feel reassured that everything is okay." His eyes shot open, panic igniting on his face. "Eleanor," I reached out, my hand trembling as it brushed against his arm. "Hesitation is natural, but let the warmth of safety envelop you when you're by my side. Only acceptance, only freedom, simply. Honesty cuts deep." He hovered in doubt, breaths rapid and shallow, until finally he nodded, though it was with great reluctance. Got it. He stood, hands trembling faintly as they reached for the waistband of his sweatpants. His eyes held fear, a raw vulnerability that twisted my heart with aching intensity. His hands trembled as they descended, a deep flush igniting his cheeks, embarrassment flooding. In that brief moment, I was completely frozen. The weight of it hung heavy. It surpassed all my expectations. But that wasn't the discovery that truly held my heart. He stood there, a silhouette of doubt, vulnerability pouring from him, as if he awaited the sharp bite of rejection. A deep truth lies within you, a secret gift yearning to be discovered. Hold tight to your true self, fiercely and unapologetically. He looked down, hands shaking with anxiety. Still, what if it consumes us? What if no one can? I gently cut him off, my voice calm but filled with warmth. That can't be true. Everything depends on finding that ideal partner, someone who genuinely cherishes you for who you are. Until that moment comes, there's no shame in facing the unknown by yourself. He gazed at me, his expression a storm of doubt. But I had already tried that. The plan collapsed in a blaze of chaos. In an instant, I halted, the burden of my words crashing down on me. Tristan, let's pause and talk this through. I want to grasp what you're feeling. What if I led you to the truth? His eyes flared, a storm brewing deep inside. I need to express this. I don't want to make things uncomfortable for you. I shook my head, my voice steady, a fierce determination igniting within me. You are nothing. I'm with you, Tristan, forever at your side, ready to fulfill your every wish. He nodded, doubt flashing in his eyes, his cheeks burning a vivid crimson. I gestured for him to sit next to me again, the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced emotion. As he moved, I reached out, my fingers grazing his thigh, closing the distance with every pulse of my heart. Relax, I whispered, my voice a soothing touch in the charged silence. This story envelops you, urging you to seize the core of your true self. His body thrummed with tension as I began to guide him, my touch a fragile dance of gentleness and power. His breath quickened, emotions clashed on his face, uncertainty loomed, then a wave of relief washed over him. A hidden spark pulsed beneath the surface, yearning to be revealed. As I pressed on, a quiet change enveloped him. Tension slipped away, and his body surrendered to the moment. In that fleeting moment, vulnerability and trust intertwined, igniting a powerful connection between us. I felt the urgent pull to prioritize his comfort, wrapped in the calming embrace that surrounded us. He groaned softly, his head falling back against the sofa. I watched as the tension in his body unraveled, a tightly wound coil finally released. Finally, he found his escape, a quiet breath escaping his lips as he leaned back, exhausted yet profoundly serene. I offered him a tissue, my smile soft but urging as he brushed away the traces of his pain. Can you feel it? I leaned in close, brushing a wayward strand of hair behind his ear. Don't let shame hold you back. He nodded, face flushed, eyes sparkling with a clarity sharper than in days. Words escaped me completely. Silence wrapped around them, thick with what remained unsaid. I replied, my voice wrapping the air in a tender embrace. You're not alone in this. Remember that. Together we will confront this challenge, our determination unbreakable. His smile was faint, relief flickering within him as we held on to the silence, the air heavy with what remained unsaid. Warmth wrapped around us, the air alive with a silent vow of healing. In that instant, I understood we had stepped into a realm of profound change. As we parted ways for the night, a storm of feelings erupted inside me. My heart surged with pride for his remarkable courage. Relief surged within me as I felt him reclaim his essence, and a profound gratitude enveloped my heart for the unyielding connection we shared. Tristan held an untapped strength, and I was determined to ignite that fire within him. Morning light flooded the kitchen, wrapping the room in a golden embrace, hinting at the secrets the day held. The air buzzed with the intoxicating scent of coffee, while scrambled eggs hissed and twirled in the pan. At the stove, I flipped a slice of toast, my mind gripped by the haunting shadows of last night. The air crackled with closeness, a delicate moment suspended between us, and I held tightly to the hope that it had given Tristan the comfort he craved. Tristan burst into the kitchen, hair a wild mess from sleep, his hoodie hanging loosely over his tall frame. His eyes flickered with doubt as he pulled out the chair, the wood scraping softly before he finally sank into the seat at the table. "Morning," I said, my smile radiant as I placed a steaming plate of eggs and toast in front of him. He looked up, our eyes meeting for a fleeting moment. Then his gaze dropped to the food, an unvoiced tension hanging between us. I sank into my seat, the heat of the coffee cup enveloping my hands, my eyes fixed on him, a storm of emotions swirling within. The silence wrapped around us, thick and stifling, burdened with unspoken truths. Tristan fiddled with his food, the fork's soft clink against the plate piercing the heavy silence as an electric tension crackled in the air. He nodded, eyes locked on the earth beneath him. "Who are you?" I halted, the gravity of the moment crushing my spirit. "Tristan, we need to talk about what happened last night." He froze, fork hovering above the plate, a flush creeping up his neck. "I just need to know you're all right," I spoke, my voice soft but unwavering. "I understand it's a lot to bear. No pressure to open up before you're ready. Just know I'm here for you." He placed his fork down slowly, hands gripping tightly together on the table. His eyes locked onto them, tension thickening the air as his jaw tightened and released, a fierce struggle within as he chased the words that slipped away like shadows. "I'm okay," he finally confessed, his voice a fragile whisper, yet brimming with undeniable truth. "In fact, I'm thriving. Last night was utterly mesmerizing." A fleeting smile broke through, relief washing over me like a tide. "I'm so relieved, Tristan. Just please, accept yourself fully." His eyes met mine, a spark igniting in that fleeting moment. "Can we relive that magic tonight?" I paused, feeling the weight of his plea. Tension hung heavy, a fragile balance that required careful navigation. In his eyes, I saw the heavy significance, the deep mark it had left on his life. "All right," I whispered, curiosity igniting within me. "This time, let's uncover something new." His eyebrow arched, curiosity igniting in his gaze. "Educational," I echoed, my voice a whisper of strength and tenderness. "Let's watch an adult movie together. It could show you that your size is not only normal, but can also be a gift." Tristan paused, his cheeks burning, but a flicker of curiosity ignited in his eyes. "Fine, if you think it will make a difference," he replied, doubt shadowing his gaze. "I swear it will," my fingers clutching his hand tightly. A quiet promise lingered, the gravity of the moment binding us together. Believe in me. As I faced my closet, the day's burden crashed over me, the words haunting my thought. With Tristan gone to university, I stood alone, wrestling with the choice of what to wear for the night ahead. The night called, a stage for warmth and allure, where comfort met seduction, promising an unforgettable experience. After deep thought, I selected a sleek black dress that hugged my curves, highlighting every enticing detail. The fabric whispered against the skin, a soft, silky caress that held an allure both delicate and undeniable. I chose a delicate black lace lingerie set, a subtle tease that ignited my senses, made just for me. I craved to radiate confidence, to set the mood for the night, while making sure Tristan felt relaxed, unburdened by any weight. The dress enveloped me, a second skin, binding me in its embrace. A fleeting reflection met my gaze, and a smile flickered to life, igniting a rush of anticipation inside me. Her gaze shimmered with elegance and allure, a fragile thread of hope to calm Tristan's restless soul. As Tristan crossed the threshold that evening, he froze, his eyes meeting mine, surprise sparking within them. The blush surged up his neck, a silent flame, and I met it with a knowing smile, an unvoiced call into the charged air around us. "Hey," I whispered, my hand gesturing to the sofa, urging him to sit. He hesitated, doubt flashing in his eyes as he drew near, his hands revealing his unease with frantic gestures. The moment the movie started, the screen ignited, enveloping us in a warm embrace of light. We sank into the moment, wrapped in a warm silence, our eyes locked on the story that unfolded before us. As the scene unfolded, I pointed out the actors who reflected Tristan's stature, underscoring that he was utterly ordinary, nothing strange or out of place. "Look," I said, my finger jabbing at the screen, "countless men like you exist. In the perfect light, it becomes a source of fierce pride." Tristan's eyes locked onto mine, tension melting away as he absorbed my words. With the burden of doubt gone, I saw his shoulders ease, a spark of confidence igniting within him. As the movie played, I sensed a shift in him, a bold flame igniting where doubt had lingered. He looked at me, his eyes fierce and penetrating, a tumult of desire and intrigue swirling within. "Eleanor," he breathed, his voice a fragile whisper, heavy with doubt. "Can we truly resurrect that moment, the one frozen in time on the screen?" I stopped, startled but poised for the question that lingered around us. The request lingered, bold and daring, heavy with meaning for him. A hunger for power, a desperate need to be desired. His longing pulsed around me, electric and raw. "Okay," I whispered, my head nodding, "but only if you're completely sure." He nodded, eyes shining with a fierce mix of excitement and gratitude, brimming with unspoken possibilities. "I am certain." The screen flickered, revealing a mesmerizing dance, each movement heavy with intent. The woman glided with a captivating elegance, her undressing a moment that was both spellbinding and profoundly intimate. Tristan flickered into view, his breath hitching, eyes fixed on the screen, a storm brewing within him. His expression revealed a raw vulnerability, stirring my heart with a mix of curiosity and anxiety that pierced deep within me. This was his moment, a chance for healing, acceptance, and a profound bond. With quiet resolve, I stood, every motion deliberate, mirroring the woman on the screen. Tristan's eyes met mine, widening with fascination as I began to sway to the intoxicating rhythm pulsing from the screen. The dress embraced me, its smooth fabric murmuring secrets with each step, a thrilling touch that ignited my senses. His gaze pressed into me, heavy with purpose, but I fixated on the flickering screen, letting the tension rise between us. Slowly, I reached behind, the zipper whispering open. It slipped away, cascading down, pooling softly at my feet. The black lace lingerie beneath me was revealed, its delicate patterns shimmering in the dim glow. Tristan's breath hitched, fists clenched, but the spark of longing in his eyes revealed the chaos inside. I leaned in, a quiet support, inviting him to share his thoughts and fears. He quaked under my touch, his eyes darting up to meet mine. "It's okay," I whispered, my voice soft but resolute. "This story envelops you. Uncover the breathtaking truth that resides inside you." He choked back a breath, his face burning with a fierce red, yet he stood firm, refusing to break free. I leaned in, my lips brushing his in a gentle kiss. A quiet promise meant to calm, not ignite. He hesitated, hands hovering before they finally settled softly on my waist. As I pulled away, his eyes flickered with a storm of feelings, gratitude mixed with longing, all overshadowed by an unsettling doubt that lingered between us. A soft smile tugged at my lips as my fingers grazed the edge of his waistband. "Let me help," I whispered, my voice a gentle caress in the darkness. He nodded, breath caught as I slowly drew down his pants, revealing the core of his hidden fears. For a brief instant, I paused, taking in his presence, as the heavy air of his anxiety filled the space. "Tristan," I breathed, my fingers grazing his thigh, a fleeting touch that hung heavily in the silence around us. "You're perfect, just as you are. Flawless in every way. You are truly remarkable." He raised his eyes to mine, searching for hope, and I gave a slight, reassuring nod. I guided him gently, my hand steady and purposeful, my touch a fierce caress that ignites the soul. His breath hitched, a soft groan escaping as his body responded without thought. I advanced slowly, my gaze locked on his face, hunting for any hint of doubt that could reveal his true feelings. I saw sheer bliss as his muscles relaxed, surrendering to a powerful surge of freedom. It came in a flash. Tristan hit his climax faster than we expected, his body shaking as a raw, primal sound broke free from him. Tension hung thick in the air, wrapping us in a fragile closeness. I stayed close, my hand softly on his thigh as he fought for breath. Silence weighed down on us, an endless void. The room throbbed with a quiet urgency, thick with unvoiced emotions. Tristan's face burned, a storm of shock and relief playing across his features. A fleeting smile flickered on his lips, and when our eyes met, a rush of warmth flooded me, stirring a deep ache of desire in my chest. Minds escape me. This feeling clings to me, relentless and unyielding. Silence enveloped the space, thick with what remained unsaid. I interjected, my voice a gentle caress. "I stand with you, Tristan, steadfast and unyielding. Always." His smile flickered, a fragile beacon of relief as the tension in his body melted away. In that brief instant, I realized he felt completely seen, utterly accepted. A tiny step, yet it carried immense weight. I was determined to guide him through the path that lay ahead. We held on to that moment, the flickering images fading into whispers as the air thickened with a deep sense of renewal. In that raw, fragile moment, the air heavy with unvoiced secrets, our connection intensified, and Tristan started to uncover a piece of himself that had been buried in shame for far too long. The room was thick with silence, the silence shattered by the relentless hum of the television, its eerie glow flickering in the shadows. Tristan and I curled up on the sofa, the air thick with a charged intimacy that was both comforting and electrifying. Breathless, his face flushed crimson, surprise and embarrassment flickering across his features like a storm. A quiet laugh slipped from my lips as I tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear, a moment brimming with unvoiced potential. I get it, Tristan. Confronted by the new and intense, these feelings are inevitable. Don't let it consume you, he nodded, but the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes revealed everything. This was it. A pivotal moment. A chance to spark his confidence and reclaim his power. With a breathless hush, I edged nearer, my body brushing against his, the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced desire. Yeah. His warmth ignited my fingertips, and I felt the electric pulse of his tension beneath my touch. It's not about how long it lasts, but the rush that ignites the soul. If you're up for it, let's plunge into a second round together. Tristan's eyes widened, breath hitching as he locked onto me. Is that really true? I nodded, a brief smile flickering at the edges of my lips. Is that really true? The decision rests solely in your hands. He hesitated, uncertainty flashing across his face as his hands fidgeted in his lap. Then he finally nodded. Got it. Let's plunge in. I edged closer, my fingers brushing his arm, his warmth igniting something deep inside me as I leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to his neck. He quaked under my touch, breath quickening, and I felt the tension in him begin to melt away. This story envelops you, leading you to a profound sense of peace. I pressed on, fingers gliding over his skin, each touch deliberate, charged with an intoxicating pull. I moved past him, slow and intentional, until I felt him awaken again. With a raw, instinctive groan, he gave in, his head falling back against the sofa, as his body responded without thought. I relished every heartbeat, drawing out the moment as the tension enveloped me. I kissed him deeply, my longing igniting a fire within him. My hands traced his chest, sliding down his torso, leaving him trembling with desire. Vivian stood at the forest's edge, heart pounding, shadows swirling around her. Anticipation hung heavy in the air, the unknown pressing down on her like a shroud. Each rustle of leaves sent chills through her, a haunting reminder that something lurked just beyond the trees. Heart racing, she moved ahead, prepared to face the unknown. He gasped, voice heavy with desire. I stood at the brink, the wind screaming like a tormented soul. The waves crashed violently against the jagged rocks, mirroring the storm raging in my heart. Every breath hung thick with tension, the air crackling with the gravity of what was to come. The world throbbed beneath me, signaling that everything was on the brink of transformation. The horizon loomed, a vast expanse of choices, each one a heartbeat away from transformation. In that moment, I felt the weight of destiny pressing down. A path ahead that would challenge every ounce of my bravery and determination. Action awaits. I leaned back, locking eyes with him, the air crackling with intensity. His eyes held a haunting depth, overflowing with a fierce mix of desire and vulnerability. In that fleeting moment, I understood we were on the edge of a profound change for us both. Do you really believe that? He nodded, hands gripping my waist with intent. A gentle smile touched my lips, but an intense ache of affection surged in my heart for him. I gently coaxed him to lie back on the sofa. His hands trembled as they held me, his breath sharp and ragged. As I descended, the moment's weight consumed me, electric with emotion and the deep connection that had flourished between us. He groaned softly, his fingers digging into my hips with fierce urgency. I held my breath, letting him adjust to the overwhelming wave of feeling. The experience revealed itself in ways I never saw coming. It soared beyond the tangible, threading through raw emotions, forging a connection that resonated deeply and intimately. His eyes held a raw vulnerability, a quiet cry for connection. He held on tight, his grip a lifeline in the storm. And in that heartbeat, I realized this was more than just desire. It spun on fragile threads of trust, the heat of acceptance, and a deep bond born from shared desires and limits. We flowed together, an invisible thread tying us, the air heavy with the pulse of our breaths. Tristan's body trembled, his hands gripping my hips tightly as he struggled to hold on. "Let go," I whispered, my voice a soft plea, urging him to shed his weight. He nodded, eyes closing as he surrendered to the tidal wave of feeling. His finale ignited the room, his body soaring from the sofa. In a raw, instinctive rush, a deep, guttural moan breaking free. I stayed with him until he gave in, crumpling onto the cushions, his chest heaving in frantic breaths. In the quiet, we held our breath, the room alive with the pulse of our shared heartbeat. The air buzzed with unvoiced tension, a raw sense of healing and connection binding us, uncovering a bond deeper than we ever thought possible. Tristan faced me, his eyes glistening with a mix of gratitude and profound love. "Thanks, Eleanor. Words fail me. Gratitude surges like a tidal wave, deep and consuming." I brushed a stray lock of hair from his forehead, my fingers lingering as everything else vanished. "Gratitude isn't necessary. I'm with you, Tristan. Always by your side, for eternity." He nodded, his face calm but alive with unvoiced emotions, and in that moment, I realized he felt genuinely seen, genuinely accepted. A tiny step, yet it carried immense weight. I was determined to guide him through the path that lay ahead. As we parted ways, a storm of feelings erupted inside me. My heart surged with pride for his remarkable courage. Relief surged within me as I felt him reconnecting with his true self, and a profound gratitude enveloped my heart for the unbreakable bond we had forged. Tristan held a strength unknown to him, and I was determined to ignite that power, no matter the cost. Morning light flooded the kitchen, a warm golden hue as Tristan and I took our seats at the table, our hands wrapped around steaming mugs of coffee. The air crackled with tension, the remnants of last night's chaos lingering in the suffocating silence around us. Tristan stirred his coffee, lost in thought, his gaze fixed on the swirling darkness, thoughts spiraling deeper. He seemed more at ease than I had seen in weeks. But a flicker of thought haunted his eyes, showing he was still wrestling with the burden of it all. "What feelings awaken in you today?" I asked, breaking the silence with a gentle caress. He raised his eyes, a subtle smile flickering at the edges of his lips. Truly remarkable progress. Last night changed everything. It offered a fleeting comfort. A nod and relief flooded my being. Joy erupted inside me, an overwhelming joy that surged within me, impossible to hold back. He hesitated, fingers tapping nervously on the mug, a tempest of thoughts raging within him. Eleanor, my gratitude for all you've done for me is immeasurable. Last night was only the beginning. Your steadfast presence has been my anchor amidst life's relentless storms. You are my lifeline on this journey. I can't imagine surviving without you. His words slammed into me, a wave of emotion, and a knot twisted in my throat. Tristan, gratitude isn't necessary. Your happiness is my everything. Embrace the extraordinary value that resides within you. He nodded, his face a mask of seriousness and depth. I get it, but what we've set in motion is anything but straightforward. You were my guide, my confidant, and now it has evolved into an uncharted territory, a silent bond that crackles in the air. I can't let this slip away. I gasped, my mind a tempest of turmoil. Tristan, we must face the raw reality of what this truly means. Last night surged with raw emotion, binding us closer than ever. As dawn breaks, we stand at a crossroads, wrestling with the weight of what lies ahead and the true meaning of this newfound depth in our journey together. His gaze pierced mine, a storm of intensity swirling in his eyes, searching for something buried deep within. The fear of losing us consumes me, whether it's friendship, guidance, or something more profound. The idea of risking it is unbearable. I can't escape the heaviness of last night. Its weight is impossible to overlook. I nodded, my heart weighed down by a storm of feelings inside me. My heart resonates with that feeling. Last night changed everything for us. We must move cautiously, unraveling our shared path, step by step. He hesitated, the heaviness of his thoughts palpable, before mustering the strength to voice them again. Can we grasp this, whatever it is, without it unraveling into chaos? A fleeting smile danced on my lips as my hand brushed softly against his arm. We can achieve this, but it requires absolute honesty and a profound dedication to communication. We must expose our feelings and yearnings, revealing the hidden truths beneath. When our complexities threaten to trap us, we must find the strength to stop and rethink our journey. He nodded, his gaze heavy with sincerity, a palpable weight hanging in the air. I'll make it happen, Eleanor. You mean everything to me, more than you could ever know. I struggled to contain the tears that burned to escape my eyes. Tristan, you mean everything to me. And my heart bursts with pride for all you've achieved. What we are building goes beyond simple help. It has become a shared journey, a complex tapestry of our intertwined fate. We face a challenge that demands our unity, and the consequences are immense. His smile ignited a spark, eyes glimmering with a silent promise that pulled others closer, irresistibly. Let's face this challenge side by side. Silence enveloped us. The weight of unspoken words, crackling like a storm on the brink of eruption. The morning glowed with an intense light, buzzing with a charged energy that promised the extraordinary. We entered the unknown, a point of no return. Yet a fierce determination surged within me. Together, we would face whatever awaited, armed with truth, compassion, and our unbreakable bond. Finally, Tristan stood tall. I should head out now. A class is waiting for me. I stood, a fire igniting within me. Go ahead. I won't stand in your way. In a breathless pause, he stepped closer, wrapping me in a fierce, tender embrace. He stepped back, his eyes holding mine, a fleeting smile flickering before he disappeared through the door. I stood frozen, entranced, as he slipped away into the brilliance, his silhouette illuminated by the golden glow pouring from the doorway. In the quiet of the kitchen, I was consumed by memories of last night, the heavy words echoing in my mind. This went beyond the physical. Our bond deepened in ways I never anticipated. A chaotic swirl of doubts, but a spark of hope shone through. The morning arrived quietly, each of us weighed down by our connection and the thrilling uncertainty of what was to come.